Hello, it's World Mental Health Day 2022, and the theme for this year says, make mental health and well-being for all a global priority. What a theme. This shows that everyone needs to lend his or her voice to the issue of mental health as it relates to families, society, professionals, workplace, the street, the church, the mosque, the shrine, everywhere. Mental health, it's very important. And the fact that we are considering making it a global priority, it's also a cardinal point to discuss. My name is Lanre Oguntoye. I'm a teacher leader, and a certified child trauma professional. I was introduced to trauma-informed education sometimes 2015, 2016, and since then I have not looked back. The understanding of how trauma could impact the teaching and learning space has actually helped me to modify my practice, has actually positioned me as an informed professional who knows what to do and how to do it, who knows how childhood trauma or related stress for adults, for learners, how all these things aggregate to impact learning. And beyond learning, beyond the teaching and learning space, how mental health could impact efficiency, effectiveness, and how it could tell on a nation's, performance in terms of the happiness of the people in the country, in terms of the prosperity of the people and the country. Mental health is that important. Mental health is that significant. And so on a day like this, and beyond a yearly theme, every now and then we need to speak out. We need to lend our voice. We need to share ideas. We need to rub minds on how we can improve our mental health. Everyone needs to have a voice. Everyone needs to speak out so that data can be collected on how mental health impacts individuals. Because I work in the education space, I will actually want to bring the issue of mental health home, specifically to how it impacts educators, specifically on how it impacts teachers and those who have the duty of care, those who cater for learners, cater for children, for teenagers, and for adolescents. How we could take care of our own mental health as much as we go all the way to care for children, we also need to care for ourselves. So, we're just going to take it step by step. I think it's important for us to first just consider again, we've done that over and over again, what mental health is. So, when we talk about mental health, it actually, is the aggregate of psychological problems, a variety of psychological problems related to isolation, related to anxiety, psychological problems related to loneliness, frustration, addiction, whatever forms of insecurity, depression, fears, and worries. All these aggregate to form what is called, mental health. Mental health could also, of course, includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So when we talk about mental health, we're looking at this, aspect. How emotionally stable someone is, how psychologically stable someone is. What is the social well-being status of an individual? So in our society, when you use the word mental health, someone thinks, oh, I'm not mad. Okay, I'm not but left, But mental health, just like health in general, okay, has to do with how our emotion integrates with our psychological state, and of course our social well-being. It's very important because it affects how we think, it affects how we feel, it affects how an individual acts or respond to situation. So mental health also determines how we handle stress. It relates to how we interact with other people. It involves the kind of choices that we make. Someone who has, good mental health will usually make healthy choices. If our mental health is not stable, if it's not good, if it's bad, it's going to reflect in the kind of choices that we make. See, mental health is that important. So mental health is important at every stage of one's life, from childhood to adolescence to adulthood. So mental health is very critical, is very important, and we can't joke about our mental health. So there are a series of questions that have been asked, that I've also asked, that people ask. Can mental health problems be avoided? What? Like most problems, or like all problems, could be avoided. It could be avoided, and that's why we are talking about mental health. There are things that we can put in place at various levels that can make us be mentally sound. See, sound mind is just very critical. Very, very critical. Most times we'll focus on our somatic health, body health. My leg hurts. Oh, my head aches. But when it comes to the psycho part of us, we usually neglect it. And sometimes because of ignorance, we simply do not know what to do. Or we simply do not understand the implication of not taking care of our psychological, health. It affects everybody, including me, including medical doctors, including people who are health professionals. Okay, everyone needs to be in charge of his or her mental state. Okay, so mental health problems can be avoided. It can be avoided. Now, another question: how often do educators burn out? And why do educators burn out? The bulk of what I'm going to be saying, it's about why educators burn out, why teachers burn out. I have friends who think, oh, you're enjoying, you're a teacher. It's because they do not understand how enormous the responsibility that I carry as a teacher. So some think that as a teacher you have a whole lot of time. I can tell you, teachers are extremely busy people. From morning 7 a.m. to 6 a.m. you're already at work. And sometimes even when school closes, not even sometimes, most times, when school closes, you stay back to finish up the work, to mark students' notes, give feedback, assess student work, take care of administrative tasks. So there's a whole lot to do. So teachers experience burnout. often. And there are reasons why we experience burnout. So we need to share ideas with one another and see how can we, overcome this burnout. What can be done? What can we do to ensure that we take care of this issue of teacher, burnout? Very important for us to, to consider that. See, some time ago, a research was done in 2016, and the research, was titled "Teachers' Wellbeing and Depressive Symptoms and Associated Risk Factors." Now, Kidgar et al., the lead researcher, they found out that nearly 20% of secondary school teachers in 8 schools in Bristol, and the surrounding, area, had high scores on the Patient Health Questionnaire number 9. And this indicated that, these teachers probably had moderate to severe depression compared to normal population, you would say, in the same area. And these ones scored around 10%. So an average teacher, secondary school teacher, scored 20% in terms of a measurement or evaluation of the risk factor or factors that precipitate teachers' burnout, that precipitates professional stress for people. So these and many more researches support the fact that teachers consistently are found to be at increased risk of experiencing poor mental health and well-being compared to people in other occupations. And this is, research-based database. So we experience, school teachers, we experience, regularly higher levels of psychological distress and lower, well-being than might be expected. And that's the truth. And these are some of the things that we need to bring to the front burner. So there are things that precipitate this stress. There are potential stressors, that teachers face. Potential stressors that teachers face. I will first want to talk about, workload pressure. Like I mentioned earlier, workload pressure is really for teachers. There is a whole lot to do. We have workload aspects, includes administrative paperwork. It includes, lack of non-contact time for lesson planning. When a teacher has to close work and get back home, spend the midnight planning lesson, and he or she has to rush back to school the next day. So if there are, non-contact time on the teacher's timetable that could be allocated to planning instructions and taking care of administrative tasks, it will be a very fantastic and a good way to go. Now, when a teacher has lessons from 7 a.m. to close of work, and not just once in a week, not twice in a week, 3-4 times in a week, all through, it's not healthy for the teacher. It's definitely going to cause burnout. An average teacher in an international school does the work of 2 teachers. An average teacher, and I'm sure my colleagues out there will bear witness. It's real. An average teacher does the work of 2 teachers, if not more. So definitely, when you sign up to become a teacher, you sign up for heavy workload. The pressure is much. And beyond that, attached to the work pressure is also the feeling of responsibility for people's educational outcomes. Here we are teachers. We see ourselves as responsible for the educational outcomes of the student. Yes, if we don't see ourselves as responsible, then why are we in that space? Okay, so that weight of responsibility, sometimes you're burdened about, especially when you have students who are struggling. You tend to carry their weight and add to your own, work pressure. Okay, so this leads to what is called compassion fatigue. Compassion fatigue in the caregiving space. When you take the burden of the student upon yourself. That's why we are teachers. So this comes natural with the work, except if a teacher is not a passionate one, except if the teacher is not the passionate type. He or she would experience compassion fatigue. Okay, so workload is real, and it's a potential teacher stressor. So another potential teacher stressor is the relational aspect of our work. Okay, the relational aspect of our work here talks about the quality of teachers' connection with pupils, or with students, or with learners, the quality of teachers' connection with parents, the quality of teachers' connection with themselves among staff members. So some don't gel well, some don't relate well with colleagues. If you are in an environment where there is no collegial relationship, collegial collaboration, it's going to be a toxic environment to be in. If a teacher, has to constantly deal with difficult parents, or you are blessed to have, maybe in a class of 15, you have 5 difficult parents, man, you're not going to find it easy. You communicating with those parents, having to deal with them day in, day out, the teacher will be stressed out. The teacher will be stressed out. It's important that we bring issues like this to the front burner. Yeah. For example, if a teacher has, students who are, destructive, and you have to constantly manage this misbehavior. Okay? Or you have a challenging situation with colleagues or parents of learners who, think that you're not just doing enough as a teacher. Okay? So that could bring in worries, it could bring in fear, sometimes fear of losing your job. Okay, it could be anxiety, to the teacher. Or when a teacher, is in a situation where he lacks perceived support from management or leaders, that can also impact negatively on the teacher's, mental health and well-being. Okay, so if a teacher is in a space and, the relationship, either with the management, relationship with colleagues, relationship with parents, and relationship with students is not just going on well, this is going to precipitate stress. Absolutely, it's going to precipitate stress for the teacher. Okay, so another teacher stressor that I want to talk about, and I think that I would love teachers to really listen to this: incompetence. Incompetence. If you have to deliver certain job functions, or you have deliverables to deliver, and you're not competent to deliver these job functions, you are naturally going to be stressed out. What you could have done if you were competent in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or an hour, because you lack competence, not necessarily because the work is much, not necessarily because the work is hectic, not necessarily because the work is stressful. But in this case now, stress becomes relative. So if you lack competence in delivering that job and you're struggling through it, you are definitely going to be stressed. So in situations like this, you find colleagues in the same workplace. Some are stressed, some are not stressed. Some have the right tools to do their job, Some have not found the right techniques, the right strategy, the right methodology, to deliver the deliverables. So such an individual would definitely be stressed. So it's just like you have to cut down a tree and you have a blunt, cutlass or axe. You need to go sharpen your axe. Go sharpen the cutlass first before you want to begin to cut down the tree. So many teachers are incompetent, or do not know how to do certain things, and they are not giving to professional development, seeking, seeking increased capacity. Yes, seeking increased capacity. So if your capacity increases, then you'll be able to deliver your job better, efficiently. So in fact, if you inefficiently deliver your job, that is where stress comes in, because you're going to be strained. You're going to be strained. There's going to be strain in it. So one of the ways to deal with this potential stressor is to seek for capacity. Seek for capacity. Now, it might look like a lot of work getting professional development, but like I always say, the only way to attain a status of rest is for you to work. If you have done your work diligently, a greater percentage of the time you are going to find rest. So if you have an increased capacity, like the scripture says that if you are defeated in the days of adversity, it means that your strength is small. Can you imagine? Somebody is defeated when his strength is small. And that's it. If your strength is huge, it means if you have capacity, you are not going to find that job stressful. To a larger extent, you will find out that stress will be reduced. You take it from me. Go and develop competence in your deliverables, and you'll find out that it becomes easy for you to deliver your job function. Let me give a typical example. When it comes to using, technology tools, maybe Excel sheet or whatever, to calculate your score sheets, your scores for your student assessment data. Some keep punching calculators, keep writing on papers, and they say, oh, I have 100 students. How do I go about it? But someone, somewhere, is making use of an Excel sheet. And it puts in the formula, the Excel sheet does the computation, and it gets the results quickly and in a more efficient way, while the other person keeps complaining that the work is tedious. You can see that they have different level of competence. They have access to different tools. So your competence matters. So if you are incompetent in delivering your deliverables, you are definitely going to be stressed out. You are in for a life of stress. So please, it's very important for you to embrace competence. Very, very important. If you don't know how to do some things, collegial collaboration, speak to your colleagues, speak to your line manager, seek for help. I have found that there are a lot of teachers who lack competence and they are pretending. They are pretentious. It's that pretending nature that is bringing stress to your life. Speak to someone, ask questions. If you're not clear about it, ask questions. So I usually believe that if somebody cannot do his job well, he or she lacks competence. Not always anyway. Some people they have competence, but they lack work ethics. Okay? So competence is very, very key. I will just move. I don't want this, video to be extremely long, but we just have to speak all the same. Then another thing is a lack of structure. And this relates to planning. I know there are external factors that impede or that interferes or that disrupt our plans. But he who plans and get the plan disrupted is better than he who does not plan at all. So when you plan, even when your plan is to be disrupted, you still find a way to see how that particular thing that is coming in can fit into the plan in one way or the other. It may display some of the things that you have planned, but you are better off than somebody who has no plan at all. Like I read somewhere, Professor Indovisi says that one of the greatest professional victory you will ever win is a victory over your time. I found that very instructive. Very, very instructive. Victory over time. One of the professional victory you will ever win. So we need to ensure that we have structure at the level of individual teachers, then at the level of line managers, at the level of senior and middle management. Very important. Lack of structure is a very strong teacher stressor. It affects every other professional. So let me talk about this at the level of individual teachers first. So how do I bring structure in? I know my deliverables. There are timelines that I need to work with. Most times we forget. It affects the best of us. We forget our timelines. So if we work with our timelines, we check it every now and then, we'll be able to plan ahead. I know, for example, maybe every week I need to fill my teacher diary. Every week I need to write a report. Every week I need to, communicate with parents, maybe a communication book. And I let all these things slide. If on Friday, for example, my line manager tells me that before the close of work, I have to do those things, and I have not planned them for my week, I'm definitely going to be stressed because I will have a lot of deliverables to deliver before the close of work for a particular day. And most of these deliverables are not sudden. They could be suddenly requested, but they are not sudden job functions. They have been your job functions. It's just that we neglect them, we overlook them. We just roll on like roller coaster. And when they say at the close of work, certain things has to be submitted, then the teachers begin to murmur, we begin to clamor, we begin to frown, and we begin to get stressed up because we have left a whole lot of things undone. So at our individual level as a teacher, there are things that I know I need to do, so I begin to put them in place. I need to have my own, deliverable calendars that I follow daily, weekly, monthly, that helps me to deliver my job, function. So I can have structure at that level. Then an appeal to line managers, an appeal to especially those who are the senior leadership team, because most of the sudden work that teachers get to do or deliverables comes if you have a senior leadership, line manager who lacks structure. I can tell you, everybody in the down line will lack what? Will be stressed up. And that is what I refer to as vertical stress. Vertical stress, the stress that comes from above, like we do say, Oga at the top. Such kind of stress, it gets teachers annoyed. So if I have a line manager or if I'm a line manager and I'm not structured, I'm definitely going to be making my teachers become stressful. So education leaders, we need to hear this. We must know that if we ourselves, we lack structure and we just roll out instructions. Oh, send something to somebody. I need it before the close of work. I need it today. I need it today. You are reflecting that you lack structure in your life. And so you lack structure in your job as a senior leadership team member. And usually it's the middle manager that will be burned out, and the teachers that will deliver those deliverables that will be burned out. So most times we talk about work-life balance, but we actually don't act it out. We just speak these things theoretically, textbook knowledge. But in the real practical sense, teachers can't see the work-life balance. They can't see. They can't see. And the reason is because there is no structure. I believe that stress thrives in an atmosphere of chaos. if the structure is put in place, they will just find out that everything aligns. Structure is very important. So we need to be aware of vertical stress. So as a teacher, it's your responsibility to regulate your stressor. No matter how difficult your line manager is, if you find out that he or she lacks structure, you need to communicate. You need to use your teacher's voice. Speak out. Speak out. Just speak out. There must be structure. Yes, occasionally some things will come around that you can avoid. There is something called the unpredictability of human nature. Okay, or unpredictability of nature. Something can come suddenly. But suddenly shouldn't be our lifestyle. Suddenly shouldn't be a school culture. Everything is always urgent. Everything is always sudden. Everything is always urgent. It simply means that we have left the important things undone until they become urgent. So it's very important. On the time management quadrant, you must have heard about the very, important, urgent, strata. Very urgent, not important. Very important, not urgent. Very urgent, very important. Those kind of, quadrant. Every one of us need to know how to handle it. The things that we need to handle are the things that are important, but they are not urgent. We need to take care of them. If you don't take care of those things that are important and that are not urgent, then they will move to important and urgent. And when you find yourself in that quadrant of important and urgent, it is a stressful quadrant to dwell in. The least stressful quadrant to dwell in, it's something that is important, okay, but not urgent. So that is the level of proactiveness. If you're proactive, you stay in that quadrant and you find out that you will never have things that will be very important and very urgent. So we need to be aware of vertical stress. Then another one I want to talk about is the cloud stress. This cloud stress has a lot to do with mindset. Sometimes we just pick things from the environment. Everybody is murmuring, and you really have no reason to murmur, but because you are in a caustic environment, an environment filled of murmurs, you just find yourself also murmuring. And before you know, you say the environment, that is what is in the atmosphere. What is in the atmosphere? They have a piece of work to do. Someone just rushed through the work and say, this thing is difficult. Every other person just picks it up. Oh, this thing is difficult. We can't do this. The environment is toxic. There's too much work to do. But in the real sense, when you sit people down and begin to ask questions and say, okay, bring up the data. Let's see. What are these work that you've got to do? How difficult is this thing? You'll find out that most of the allegations, most of the rancor, most of the murmuring are actually do not have a base. Yeah. That is called the cloud stress. Okay? The cloud stress. Everybody just know that the environment is keeps rolling. There's this ideology that there's too much work in the environment. But when you sit down and look at it in details, you ask the question, where are these work? And it's important that we look at this cloud stress, because when you're in such an environment, except if you're an individual who knows how to create a micro environment of peace, a micro environment of effectiveness within a larger environment of ineffectiveness, you'll be stressed. You'll be stressed. So we need to be able to handle this very well. And every education leader needs to be able to puncture this kind of, stress. It's a mindset stress. Let me give another typical example. During the COVID, a lot of teachers are worked up because of this mindset that, now I've got to work at home. I don't have data. All this teaching online, I'm consuming my data. As long as you continue to say that, you are getting worked up. Now, what I did to change my mindset with that was I felt, okay, I'm not going to work physically. If I was to go to work physically, I was going to be spending transport fare. I spend on an average of 25,000 naira every month on fuel. So what I did was to sit myself down and have a discussion with myself. Yeah, I know this is the general talk in a cloud teaching space. Oh, teachers are burning their data. Oh, I know, but I sat myself down and said, okay, out of this 25,000 naira that I would have spent if I was going to work physically, can I take 15k out of it and buy data that I'll be using monthly? And the moment I did that, the worries of, I was out of that cloud of worries about data. I just took myself to a position of peace. So I settled it in my mind. Okay, I'm using it to buy data. Yes, am I spending my money on data? Yes, but I have been able to revise. It's like a reverse engineering. My mindset, I rejig my mindset because I wanted to find peace in the midst of those cloud stress. And that's why the scripture says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so it will be. So I've made up my mind to stay away from an atmosphere of complaints, atmosphere of murmuring. I try as much as possible to do something about it. Do something about it. Do something about it. Are we going to be having reasons to complain? Yes, there are reasons to complain, and sometimes there are fact-based. But to reduce stress, to say, it's very important for you to know that you are the number one regulator of your stress. Number one regulator of your stress. You must find a microcosm of peace within you. That's how to puncture cloud stress. So, how can we go further to deal with this? You need to practice self-awareness. Did you suddenly find yourself becoming worked up? You are just complaining. You need to just withdraw and find out, why am I complaining? What is the reason for this complaint? What can I do about it? Or what can be done about this? It's very important that we find ourselves in such situations where we'll handle the issue of that complaint properly. Practice self-awareness. So I need to be aware of and accept my own thoughts and feelings. Very important. So that I'll be able to adjust my actions accordingly. It's very essential, especially these days. I must be aware of my own thought. I must accept my thoughts, my feelings. I must be willing to adjust my actions. Because I can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. So, but sometimes you can get stuck in your feelings. Okay? And it could be easy to find yourself in such a situation where you're always worrying about your own health, worrying about your salary, worrying about your going concern, whether you still have your job again, worrying about your safety and well-being of your family, well-being of the community. There's a whole lot that could get us worked up and stressed up. So I must be aware of my feeling. How am I feeling now? Am I feeling good? Am I feeling bad? If I'm feeling bad, what can be done? I must be able to reflect. It's very important. So experiencing feeling is important as long as you do not become your feelings. Yeah, I can experience feeling. Oh, I'm feeling bad, but I don't want to become bad. I'm feeling stressed. I don't want to become stressed. So I need to quickly arrest my thought, arrest my feeling, and find out what is the basis of this feeling. Is it just false evidence appearing real? Is that feeling just fear? And sometimes this fear may be baseless. Okay? So, it is very important that I become self-aware. I must be aware of my mental health, my mental status, my health status. I must be aware of my feeling, of my emotion. When I'm getting irritated, I need to be aware so that I do not let that become an ongoing emotional stress or relational stress. The way I respond to colleague, the way I respond to middle manager, the way I accept responsibility. If you are worked up, sometimes every little responsibility, even something you can do within 2-3 minutes, you complain about it because you are just worked up. Okay? So another advice I want to give is you need to, know that emotions are like virus and they can be contagious. That's why I first said earlier that I stay away from those who complain. Stay away from those who do not see anything good in the system. Even if you are in a school and there's a whole lot of issues, you don't like it, you must be able to create an atmosphere of peace for as long as you are there. If you don't like it, resign and move on. Resign and move on. Your mental health is important. So if you can't resign and move on yet, then you must find what is the best way to cope with this situation, to experience peace in the midst of storm. So, am I a positive individual or am I a negative individual? So I must do my best to keep fear and panic at bay and support healing and well-being by modeling calmness, by modeling calm behavior, by modeling positive emotion, by modeling optimism in my workplace. I know that I have influence. You have influence. There are people that are looking up to you. So I need to model. It's possible. Even when the work is difficult, say it's possible. We can do it. We can move on. Let's undo it. Let's go on. That is modeling positivity, modeling optimism. It's very key and very important. So, for example, when you are feeling overwhelmed, you may need to pause and take a deep breath. You need to notice the thoughts in your mind and the sensation in your body. How am I feeling about this thing? So you may need to just give yourself a moment. Okay, give yourself a moment. Listen to a nice music. Okay, all this background piano sound, background, saxophone, subtle one. It could just cool you down. It's very important. So, because how you feel and how you appear in interaction matters. Because people can pick up how you feel. And sometimes you may not even know you're responding in a wrong way to a colleague because you are just worked up. Okay, it's very significant in order for us to be able to positively influence our colleagues, influence the student. The way we approach our work will be determined by what is in our minds. Very key, very important. Very key, very important. And lastly, I will advise that you should beware of the stories you are telling yourself. Beware of the stories you are telling yourself. Consider consider the way you think and about the way you talk with regards to current circumstances, in your workplace, in your school, in your classroom. You need to be realistic. Okay? Are the things you are feeling, the thoughts that you have, are they realistic or are they fear-based? This is one of the things that contribute to cloud stress. Fear-based. You have not even handled that stuff. You just feel like, no, I can't do it. No, this is going to be a lot stressful. Have you gone through the process to see? Go through the process first, then we'll evaluate and see. So if you find that your thought is rooted in fear and you have, trouble staying calm, you have trouble staying focused, then, allow and accept your feelings and give yourself the permission to not force or push things. That means you really need to have solid conversations. See the school counselor. Okay, see a professional. See your line manager. Talk things out. Such that you can have this positive, calm, poise, which is very, very important. Okay, so don't forget, you are the number one regulator of your stress. whatever stressor that comes your way, whether from internal or external, know that you are the number one person who needs to regulate your stress. Okay? So let us all make mental health and well-being for all a global priority. Let it start from within your heart. Let it start from within your classroom. Let it start from your school. Always ensure that you are an ambassador of calmness. You are an ambassador of mental health. I hope I've been able to share just a few things in my heart on how to handle, stress as teachers. I'm going to see you another time, and I hope that you will share this video. Okay, you can use it as a CPD, to just, or as a conversation prompter when it comes to the issue, of mental health. I'm glad that I'm able to communicate, this, especially on this World Mental Health Day. Okay, my name is Lanre Oguntoye, a certified child trauma professional. I'm the most inspirational teacher in Nigeria. It's a joy and a pleasure in my heart to always speak about issues that concerns teaching. Enjoy a stress-free life. Bye-bye.